Hey folks, Pastor Suzy Burba here from First Congregational Church of Braintree in Massachusetts. I welcome you to this week's edition of Food for the Soul. I greet you today from Fort Revere in Hull, Mass. And before I begin with today's spiritual reflection, let's take a little look around the fort. Come along. Revere was built back during the American Revolution, and initially it was named Fort Independence, though that name was transferred to a nearby fort on one of the Boston Harbor Islands, Castle Island. Castle Island, the fort here, and others were used in part of the defense of the Boston Harbor. In 1778, French Marines came and joined the Patriot forces at this site to help out, and back in 1976, in preparation for the bicentennial celebration, the fort was spiffed up. A lot of work was done here, and at that time this memorial was installed in recognition of the sacrifices made by the French forces. And on to our next location. In the 1840s, this site was used as a semaphore station. So semaphore was a method of signaling through semaphore panels that were erected in towers, and they would relay messages from one tower to the next. The panels would pivot and maneuver to spell out messages. They were used during that time to notify Boston of incoming merchant vessels. The tower you see before me was not that original tower. This one was built in 1903, and it was a water tower with an observation lookout deck. The fort returned to military use during the World War I and World War II eras. There were some anti-aircraft weaponry installed, and later, after World War II, it was then decommissioned and disarmed and turned over to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In the work that was done in 1976, there were plenty of things done to spiff up the area, but as you can see, it has fallen into some disrepair. And what do you get with an old military fort? You get bunkers. So we'll take a little look here. My camera light should kick in a little bit. There we go. So the outer walls are maintained pretty well, and any new graffiti tends to be removed. But as you can see, this inner area is full of graffiti. I'm doing my best to hold my arms still. But it is nonetheless a really interesting place to wander around. I'm just going through one section of the bunkers. And we are going to come out over here at an amphitheater. And again, back in the 1976 bicentennial, the work that was done, they included putting this amphitheater in. And for quite some time, the Metropolitan District Commission, now called the Department of Conservation and Recreation, would host various activities here. It's been a while since they've done that. And now I will go up the stairs and we'll take a look at the view from the top. I am now on top of the section that I just walked through. There's another section of bunkers and the amphitheater. And out, looking over the bay. Where I sit right now, you can see possibly Boston Light behind me. And then further behind Boston Light is Graves Light, which is a really good distance off. Unfortunately, as I look at the camera, I can't tell if it's going to show on the video or not, but it is back there, just over my shoulder. And now that we've had a look at the park, why don't we move on to today's spiritual reflection, Food for the Soul. I want to talk to you today about the story of Noah's Ark and the flood. Now, whether you approach that story as relaying literal factual information from the past or historical metaphorical truths, what we have to take away from it today is the same. And it has to do with the promise that comes at the end of the story. So after Noah and his family and all the animals are stuck on a big smelly boat for a year, they come out and Noah builds an altar to God and makes an offering. And God sees Noah's faithfulness. And he says, this is in Genesis 8, I will never again curse the ground because of humankind, for the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth, nor will I ever again destroy every living creature as I have done. So God is expressing sorrow and regret after the events have occurred, and making a commitment to humanity that God will never cause such destruction. Now, Noah and his family, they were trapped for quite a while. And I think in a metaphorical way, here today, we may be feeling like we're trapped on a boat, perhaps stuck with family, as we've been mostly indoors during this pandemic season. So we're a little bit in the same situation, but also we have hope to hold on to. And here we are in summertime, which is a time for us to really get outdoors and remind ourselves of the goodness and be refreshed by the sunlight. A later verse in this story, God says, as long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. So here in our circumstances, summer, winter, day, night, it shall not cease. We will persevere together as a community, as a church, as a nation, and as a world. So my prayer is that you will be able to look to God with hope in these unusual times. And I hope that the sunshine will remind you of God's good promises. In conclusion, I want to read a little blessing, a summer blessing. The author is unknown, but it is still relevant, of course. May God walk with you this summer in whatever you do, wherever you go. Walking with God means walking with humility, walking with courage, walking with love and respect, and concern for the feelings of others. May you talk with God this summer, and every day in every situation. Talking with God means praying words of praise for the beauty of creation, saying prayers of thanks for friends and good times, asking God's help in all your decisions, expressing sorrow when you have failed. This summer, may you walk with God. May you talk with God every day. Amen. Many blessings to you, my sisters and brothers, until I see you again.